I was about to get on Twitch and literally continue my resimulation. It's on twitch.tv/FlightMike, and we do a franchise resimulation there whenever there's some slow news or whenever we're just bored and we're just trying to pretend that sports are still running. And I was waiting on this Washington Post article that completely was supposed to ether Dan Snyder. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, the former Washington Redskins, they're still trying to figure out their new name, are about to get absolutely destroyed in an expose article. And I think this is probably the most longly awaited expose article that I've ever seen in the history of being a sports fan. I don't think anyone's ever waited for something like this to expose an individual. I think possibly since the expose article that was written on Donald Sterling that resulted in him losing ownership of the Los Angeles Clippers. And that's NBA stuff. We do NBA stuff on the Flight Mike channel. But today, what we're going to be discussing is, and I didn't really plan this video today, but we do content on top of news and we have to discuss what's going on in the NFL today. I'm going to tell you the crazy stuff that we know so far. There's going to be a part 2 to this video when that Washington Post article comes out, and you best believe we're going to be diving deep into it. But until then, just based off of the stuff we know so far is enough for me to make a whole video on and discuss it with you guys. Now, before we get started, guys, we are almost 20,000 subscribers away from hitting 100,000 subscribers on this channel. So please leave a like, subscribe. I don't have a lot of people in my notification gang, so if you could turn on my notifications, we'll get there even sooner. And of course, make sure to check us out on other social media platforms. I post onto TikTok 3 times a day, and it's like NFL and NBA and fitness content. So I'm sure you guys would enjoy that as well. Now that that crazy intro's out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Let's jump straight into it. If you're a Washington Redskins fan, there's no better way to describe what it's like to be a Redskins fan than to call the team a gigantic dumpster fire. I've been a NFL fan since, I'd say, 2002. I started following the Dallas Cowboys. I was born in Dallas, Texas. I was a Dallas Cowboys fan since, right when they started sucking, and I've been disappointed year after year ever since. It's a lot of fun watching, Jerry Jones go from Dave Campo to Bill Parcells to Wade Phillips to Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy as head coach, and to literally go from one quarterback to another, and then more recently not pay his more recent quarterback. But throughout this entire experience, we've of course had some division rivals such as the New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, who have won Super Bowls ever since I started following football. But the one team that I was never intimidated of in my entire tenure of being a fan of the NFL was the Washington Redskins. Even as a wee little 9-year-old kid in the year 2002, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that makes me 26 for those of you guys that did the advanced calculus, I never was taught to fear the Washington Redskins. My dad would come up to me and say, "Son, the Redskins stink." And to be honest, no disrespect to the Redskins, but they do stink. And it's kind of like the type of stinkery that occurs from a franchise that has just ran poorly. There's some teams that are just paying their dues and rebuilding, but it appears as if the Redskins are perpetually rebuilding. And right when they make the right play, right when they make the right moves, it seems like somehow, some way they mess it up. The top example that comes to my mind is, and we're going to call them the Redskins for the sake of this video, just so, I don't know what name they're going to go on to, but just for the sake of this video, we are going to call them the Redskins. The top instance that comes to my mind is the year they decided to finally go all in on Robert Griffin III, a transcendent track and field star that won the Heisman Trophy for Baylor. A can't-miss prospect, a prospect that so can't miss that the Washington Redskins traded 4 first-round picks in 2012 and a second-round pick for the number 2 overall pick in 2012 in RG3. And it's kind of funny because A lot of people at the time were saying this was the equivalent to when Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf were coming out of college. Whichever, in this, not in the sense of talent, but in the sense of, okay, we're going to trade up to the number 2 pick, and whoever the Colts take with the number 1 overall pick, be it Andrew Luck, be it Robert Griffin III, we're just going to take the other, and he's going to be our franchise quarterback. We're going to solve this problem once and for all. Immediately, people started saying this is a horrific trade because the Redskins ended up giving a number 6 overall pick, a number 39 overall pick, a number 22 overall pick, and another number 2 overall pick in 2014, which, by the way, was probably the second most deepest draft in the past decade. Out of 32 picks in the first round in the 2014 NFL Draft, 17 of those players at least made 1 Pro Bowl. And of course, the pick ended up being Greg Robinson, so it's not a big deal. But to begin with, it was a horrific trade. It was giving up too much. But once they did get RG3, and once RG3 showed them how good he is, even him, they completely mismanaged his career. They put him in and played him in his rookie season when he was too injured to continue to play. And at that point, after 1 season, Mike Shanahan traumatized RG3 so much that he no longer wanted to even be a scrambling QB, which is what he was good at. Now, look, we can make the argument that RG3 may not have been a talented QB to begin with, may have been a system quarterback, but that's just an example of the mismanagement of the Washington Redskins. And even furthermore, that same year they drafted Kirk Cousins. In the same draft, they drafted Kirk Cousins. And then they went with him. And Kirk Cousins proves to be a above average quarterback. And instead of paying him, they just franchise tagged him twice and then let him walk. And they've been looking for a quarterback ever since. They drafted Dwayne Haskins, not in the past draft, but the draft before. And before he was even ready, they just threw him in the middle of the game to the Wolves in an attempt for Jay Gruden to save his job. And that's just the example of mismanagement of the Washington Redskins. This stuff that has been leaked makes it could be really, really bad. And I'm going to fill you in on everything you need to know. This video is probably going to get demonetized, so guys, really quickly, probably the only thing I could gain from this video is we're dropping our Steve McNair murder mystery on Saturday. A link to that's in the description down below. Go to the description, set your notifications on for that. I'm probably not going to make any money off of this video, which is fine, but because I'm a news channel and I owe it to you guys to bring this to you. It starts with Dan Snyder, who historically is notorious for making horrible moves with the Washington Redskins. He is the owner of the Washington Redskins, and the scenario is so bad that minority investors want to pull out of being invested in the Washington Redskins. Let me tell you how bad that is, guys, because in the NFL, whenever you're invested in a team, it's like a 100% chance you're going to make a return on your investment. There is no chance of you losing money by being invested in an NFL team. They have such crazy deals and they make so much money, an absurd amount of money. Roger Goodell, that's the reason he was brought in. He's incredible at making money for the owners. That if you're trying to pull away from a team and you're trying to pull out of your investment, things are so freaking bad that you do not want to be invested in the team. Now, the first thing is Dan Snyder apparently abuses both drugs and alcohol. That's the first leak we got. All right, and fine, that's okay. This gets horrible. At some point, we find out how Alex Smith's career got ruined, but it gets even worse. Dan Snyder apparently paid off some officials, with some referees allegedly having made $2 million off of Dan Snyder and also alluding to other owners doing similar things. This is horrible. Like, if this goes on to other owners and the entire integrity of the NFL comes into question, then oh my God, this could not only be extremely damaging for the Washington Redskins, but it could be damaging for the entire NFL. And I hope this second point isn't true. The immediate thing I think of it as a Dallas Cowboys fan is the Dez Bryant catch. Oh my God, in 2014. I don't want to ramble on about that, but I really hope point number 2 isn't true. It would destroy the integrity of football. But even point number 3, and it gets even crazier. Allegedly, Dan Snyder and former coach Jay Gruden, brother of John Gruden, knock on wood if you're with me, held their cheerleaders' passports from them in a foreign country in order to force them to solicit themselves to season ticket holders. Dan Snyder also allegedly held nude photo shoots of the Washington cheerleaders. It gets even worse. If objectifying women and exploiting foreign women that are your cheerleaders and your employees isn't bad enough, it gets even worse. And again, this isn't even the official article, so bear that in mind. Dan Snyder and John Gruden allegedly held sex parties with rampant drug usage and potentially some sexual assaults. Oh my God. And here's probably everything I said is horrible. Horrible is horrible. There's not something being worse than the other, but the last one affects someone's life tragically and horrifically. I don't know if you guys know what's going on with Alex Smith. I can't really go into what's going on with Alex Smith. That's a whole video in of itself, but pretty much after the last injury Alex Smith sustained, he nearly lost his leg and almost lost his life. He is very, very lucky to have his leg in his life right now. He sustained an infection when he broke his leg, and ESPN did a great article on this. If no one made a video on this, then I'll happily make a video on this, because there needs to be a light shown upon this and how incredible of a human being Alex Smith is and how resilient of an individual Alex Smith is. But to summarize everything, Alex Smith broke his leg, and at first they thought, okay, maybe this is a blood clot or a pulmonary embolism. And after they saw that Alex Smith's blood pressure was dropping and his life was literally at risk. And if I can't really show you the pictures of his leg, I'm going to leave a link to the article in the description down below, but his legs would get blistered and bruised. And originally what they found out is he had a necrotizing fasciitis, which is a flesh-eating bacteria in his leg. So now that you understand the very generic gist of what's going on with Alex Smith, why he hasn't played in the NFL for the past year, right when he seemed to have had it all figured out and his career began to resurge. Dude, listen to this story. According to the source, Jay Gruden and former running back Capri Bibbs were at one time sleeping with the same woman. Jay Gruden found out, got angry, and benched Bibbs. Now, the next game, Bibbs' replacement was the person that was in charge of picking up a key lineman that was blitzing Alex Smith. And he completely botched and missed the block. And on that exact play, Alex Smith would suffer a broken leg. Alex Smith had 17 surgeries to fix that broken leg and hasn't been able to play since. And that's it. That's all I have. Based off of these tiny little list of points that we got off of a unnamed source that is leaking out bits of this article, I don't think you understand how insane this article is about to be and how much it could completely change the fiber of the NFL. I really hope the paying off of the officials isn't true. And if all this stuff is true, I really hope that Dan Snyder gets exposed, because this all sounds horrible. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'll catch you guys in our next upload.